What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Snack Size DFS for Tuesday, February the 4th. I'm Dan Besbris, just here once again to introduce the program and remind you that this show, like all of our shows, are brought to you by Bet Online. The biggest betting weekend of the year is finally here, which means more updated odds and props for Super Sunday. Bet Online, remember this, it's the world's most trusted betting platform. So that makes it the number one source for online betting. But right now, most importantly, hundreds of prop bets. Hundreds. You hear that? Triple digit MVP odds, exclusive in-game live betting opportunities, making BetOnline the ultimate Super Bowl game day companion. Visit BetOnline today and make game day action count just a little bit more with our buddies at BetOnline. The game starts here. You guys know the drill at this point. It's Snack Size DFS. Brenton is going to squeeze a big DFS card breakdown into a nice bite-sized pocket, so you guys don't have to spend half your day researching the DFS card. Just a few minutes will get you set up and understand how to piece your DFS slate together for the Tuesday run of it. Brenton, of course, is on social media at Terrain72. He's coming up here in about 10 seconds. Just a quick reminder, hit that like button and subscribe if you want all the DFS shows that we're dropping here on Old Man Squad Sports Network and Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Brenton, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Dan, as always. Welcome to another episode of Snack Size DFS. My name is Brenton Eckersley. I'm your host for your condensed bite-sized version breakdown of the DraftKings Tuesday, February 4th game card. Thanks, Dan, for everything you do for us, mate, on the Old Man Squad Network. We thoroughly appreciate you, and your insight, as always, is top-notch. I'm over here doing the DFS thing for you guys on the Old Man Squad Network. Hey, how's your trade deadline week treating you? There's been obviously some huge moves going on, none the least of which is Davis going to the Mavs and, of course, Luka going to the Lakers. Imagine being a guy who has Austin Reeves, PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford all on one fantasy team. That's me. That's going to hurt a fair bit. One trade has killed off one fantasy team for me, so that's no good. Hopefully you're not in the same boat. But this is DFS. It's not season-long fantasy. We have a lot of stuff to get through today. The news just kept pouring through this morning, right up until the point where I was recording. So there is heaps to get into here. Let's jump in. Tuesday, February 4th, game notes. We use DraftKings pricing here at Snack Size DFS as always. Couple of game notes for you. Fast games here. We expect the Indiana and Portland game to be nice and quick. No game total as yet from Vegas, but the Boston and Cleveland game will also be quick. That is a 235 expected game total there. And one of the slower ones, there's not a heap of slow ones here, but Lakers versus the Clippers. No game total yet. We expect that to be fairly paced down though. As for pace bumps, teams taking on oppositions that play a lot faster than they generally do. We have Boston versus Cleveland, so that's a nice little attack there. Boston taking on Cleveland for the fast game and also the pace bump. Miami at Chicago also get a decent pace bump. In fact, a very nice pace bump there versus Chicago. Attack and stack. Miami at Chicago. Chicago giving up fantasy points everywhere, of course. New York at Toronto and Indiana at Portland. Now, just keep an eye on those last two teams. The Raptors and the Blazers slowly moving down the fantasy points given up board. So, yeah, they're just coming up a little bit harder to play against, and we need to keep an eye on that as things remain fluid in the NBA. The first game, it's Dallas. Dallas are playing here. They've traded away Luka Doncic. On an unrelated topic, here's a movie poster of one of my favourite Tina Fey movies. It's called Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Dallas taking on Philly. We expect this to be fairly slow. Irving, Gafford, Washington, and Christie are all now listed as in for Tuesday. Anthony Davis will not play for the Dallas Mavericks as yet. The two guys I like on the Dallas side of the ball, Daniel Gafford, he is no longer questionable. That price of $7,200 is just way too low with Davis still not coming in. PJ Washington at $7,100, again, the pricing is just way too low, DraftKings, so we will use that either or potentially both if you wanted to. No Davis yet. When Anthony Davis comes into this lineup, that probably squashes value for both of these guys. Like, I just don't know what to look at when Davis actually plays. I'll probably give it a couple of games just to see where things wash out. On the Philly side of the ball, this is a back-to-back for Philly. They play the Tuesday-Wednesday back-to-back, so this will be the first of a back-to-back for these guys. Paul George is already listed out. Embiid, Drummond, Eric Gordon, and both Martins, KJ and Caleb, are listed as questionable. Apparently everybody practiced, but George has been listed out. I'm not really interested in too much here. Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid himself, if he played. The pricing's just appropriate. The only guy I'd be looking at here really is Kelly Oubre at 6,100. Paul George is out. But if Embiid comes in, then it's just going to be the Maxey and Embiid show, and I would not be interested in Oubre at 6,100. Your Pinata plays here for the 76ers. Justin Edwards and Ricky Council continue to be guys you can take stabs at. 4,200 for Edwards, 4,300 for Council. No Paul George, but again, if Embiid comes in, I am crossing just about everybody off the 76ers. Houston at Brooklyn. So this is a back-to-back for Houston. They're playing today, and just have a look at the starting lineup that they just rolled out versus... Can't remember off the top of my head. It's New York. So the starting lineup for their Monday is Amen Thompson running the point. Oh, baby. Jalen Green at shooting guard. Jayson Tatum comes into the starting lineup at small forward. Dylan Brooks is going to play power forward. And Tari Eason is going to attempt to play center here versus Karl Anthony Towns. I just wanted to highlight this because if this continues... We don't know whether it's going to work today. We'll have to watch the stats after this game. But anything is possible here. So as I said, the news this morning is insane. We have to keep an eye on everything going forward. So moving into that game, as I said, back-to-back for Houston. Monday, Tuesday, they're playing right now. Şengün is out for Monday, and we know that Van Vliet is now injured. He's listed as week-to-week. For the Tuesday game, if Alpi comes back in, I don't really expect him to. 8,900 is a decent spot for him versus Brooklyn centers. They give up fantasy points at that position. Amen Thompson at 8,500. We need to see what happens with this lineup today and how that washes out for Houston. But Amen running the point, wow, that could be anything. 8,500 is a very nice price. Dylan Brooks at 4,600 is a Pinata play. He is going to score you 5 points or 35 points. It's as simple as that. You guys make the call. And as mentioned, Tari Eason and Jayson Tatum both got the start today. Watch what happens on the Monday game versus New York. Steven Adams at 4,400. If things don't go well for Houston with this very, very small lineup and Şengün is still out, he is an option at 4,400. Told you there was a lot of news. On to the Brooklyn Nets, a back-to-back for these guys as well. This is the start of their back-to-back. They play Tuesday, Wednesday. Cam Johnson already ruled out. Ben Simmons already ruled out, which opens up some value for other guys. These guys are a bit of a washing machine. I find them very hard to get right, although things are solidifying a little bit. D'Angelo Russell at 6,400. He is capable of 40 DK points. Plus, no Ben Simmons makes him a nice play here. Jalen Wilson, Keon Johnson, Zaire Williams. So here's the washing machine I keep referring to with Brooklyn. I don't like playing these guys, but if you happen to fall in that 4,500 to 5,200 price bracket and you need somebody, then have a stab at one of these guys. We know that Johnson is out. Keon Johnson's coming off some nice high scores, and Zaire Williams, his last two games, his minutes have been high and his DK point scoring has been okay too. Jalen Wilson at 5,200, Keon Johnson at 5K, Zaire Williams at 4,600. I think that's a spelling mistake on Zaire. I need to check that one out. My favourite is probably Keon Johnson, just for consistency there. Right, moving into the next game, it's Boston taking on Cleveland in Cleveland. We expect this to be a fast one, as mentioned, and also Boston getting a serious pace bump here. Therefore, I do like Jayson Tatum. I don't often play him around this 10k price, but 9,800 is a decent price. He did put up 54 DK points and 5 DK points against Cleveland earlier in the year, so this is expected to be close. It's expected to be fast. There's no reason you can't play Jayson Tatum here. He's probably my favourite high price guy on this card. There are a couple of others coming up that you can look at as well. Kristaps Porzingis at 7,100 continues to be too cheap on DraftKings. 63, 45 and 42 DK points in his last three. The Cleveland Cavaliers are on a back-to-back. Their back-to-back starts Tuesday in this card, so they're playing Tuesday, Wednesday. We've seen that Karis LeVert has already been ruled in and Okoro is doubtful. Evan Mobley at 8K. This price is starting to get back up there for Evan Mobley, but he did have 49 DK points versus Boston. It's a nice... We expect a close game. We really hope for a close game when we're playing a guy like Mobley at 8K. If things get out of hand, then that could be an issue. Donovan Mitchell at 8,600. Again, this should be a close, fast game. It's not the best price for Donovan Mitchell going up against a tough defense, but he did have 50 and 55 against these guys. Earlier in the year, I'll let you guys make the call. I would probably prefer paying up for Jayson Tatum on the other side, to be honest. Just a note here on Ty Jerome, who's going to be everyone's little darling right now. 4,700. His scores and minutes have come in 2 blowouts, and also Karis LeVert has not been there. So watch the back-to-back. If Karis LeVert is already ruled in on the Tuesday, so I would be moving away from Ty Jerome here. The next game, New York and the Raptors in Toronto. Back-to-back for both teams. It's a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back for New York. They're playing today, and the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back for Toronto. So let's start with Toronto here. I'm not too interested in the higher price guys against a very tough defensive team like New York. I'm not going with Barnes or absolute RJ Barrett. What a brain fart that was. We got there in the end. I'm looking at the lower price guys. Chris Boucher, 3,500. Obviously a yo-yo. He is your pinata play. For those of you who don't know, a pinata play is putting on a blindfold in a dark room, swinging a toothpick at a pinata. Who knows what could happen? Boucher is a yo-yo. 31 versus New York earlier in the season. He's very much a swing at the fence guy only. Kelly Olynyk, if you need to land somewhere cheap, he is a bit more stable with his scoring. Grady Dick at 4K. Look, he's just not getting it done lately, but this is starting to get too cheap for Grady Dick. He can have his night, any given night, if he starts hitting some shots. Pinata play, as I said, too cheap for Grady Dick. More back-to-backs. Okay, so Miami and Chicago taking on Chicago in Chicago. Back-to-back for both teams. Both teams, this is the start of their back-to-back. Tuesday, Wednesday for both of them. We know that Jimmy is still out suspended for Miami. I like Tyler Hero here. He's going to be a very nice GPP play away from guys like Jayson Tatum at higher pricing. 8,400 for Hero versus Chicago. Point guard at Chicago, we can absolutely attack every single time we play them. 55 to 60 DK point upside. One of my awesome GPP plays for this card. Bam Adebayo, similarly, 7,900 is a roundabout value for Bam with some upside, but he's taking on Chicago where at the center position, they just give up points up the wazoo. Terry Rozier at 4,600. This is going to be a bit more of a pinata play. He's had 35 and 36 DK points in back-to-back games. He's a point guard. He's playing against Chicago. Same kind of thing. Just keep in mind he had some higher field goal percentages in the last two, so we may not expect 35 or 36 DK points. Keller Ware, 6,100. Look, he's honestly a pinata play for me. Yes, I dropped him into a couple of my season-long fantasy lineups, but the minutes and the scoring for DK are all over the place, so play him at your own risk. For Chicago, Levine is gone. Yes, we know this, but Levine has not been playing the last week anyway. So that is the reason for the asterisks is there. We have already seen what is happening with this Bulls team before Levine was even shipped out. So just keep that in mind when looking at the guards. Kobe White at 6,400. He has 40-point DK upside. He can be a hit-and-miss shooter. It's an okay price for Kobe White. Miami's not the best team to go up against, though. I like Jalen Smith here. He is questionable still, but 3,900, the guy is starting to get minutes. He's starting to get... we know that he can score very quickly for DK in limited minutes, so I like Jalen Smith at a low price. Dart throw if you need to land there. And Matas Buzelis, 4K, he's a pinata play also. I probably prefer Jalen Smith. Okay, the LA showdown. The Lakers taking on the Clippers. We expect this to be fairly slow. On the Lakers side of things, they do not have Doncic in yet, still injured, so it'll be a while before he comes in, or at least a few games. Things are going to change rapidly once that happens. LeBron James at 10-8, no Anthony Davis, he's gone. There is no Doncic yet. It's a nice price for for LeBron James. It's a slow game. Look, LeBron could go for 70 here, but I'm probably more interested in guys like Tatum, Tyler Hero, and another one that we've got coming up just to save you some dollars. Rui Hachimura is going to... I did it again. Rui Hachimura. I'm going to try that one more time. Rui Hachimura is going to give you some extra usage here with no Davis. We know that he's going to get some extra shots up. Not my favourite play on the board, but sometimes you're just going to land on a mid-pricer. He's going to probably get up around that 30 DK points again, which makes him a good play at 5,100. Dorian Finney-Smith, 4K, he's your pinata play for the Lakers here. 32 minutes in his last game. We expect, fantasy analysts all know that Dorian loves to play alongside Luka and vice versa. So once that pairing happens, we probably expect DFS to come in and keep those 30 minutes plus per game. Just keep an eye on things. Jackson Hayes, this is going to be another little darling for everybody. The Lakers ship their superstar center, right? Hayes is the only real starting center that they've got. I'm not convinced on this. 4,600, he's had a price rise. We've already seen what he's doing without Anthony Davis, and to be honest, it isn't much. Yeah, he could go for 30 DK points, 35 DK points here and burn me. I'm willing to take that on the chin here. I'm not convinced on Jackson Hayes. For the Clippers, Norm Powell, Chris Dunn, questionable, and Eubanks, one of the smaller trades, is probable coming into this Clippers lineup. We know if Powell is out, then we can probably look at KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr. at 3,900, 25 minutes and 34 DK points with Powell out last game. Kawhi Leonard continues to be interesting, too cheap for Kawhi at 7K, minutes now pushing for 30 per game, and he had a bad shooting game last game. He has 45 DK point upside any given night, and I love this little matchup for Ivica Zubac taking on Jackson Hayes at 7,400. I expect him to absolutely dominate Mr. Hayes. Last game of the day, it's the Indiana Pacers taking on the Portland Trailblazers. This is expected to be a fast game. Back-to-backs for both teams. Back-to-backs everywhere here. It's been a tough one to work out, to be honest. Monday, Tuesday, so Indiana playing today. That's their back-to-back. I like Tyrese Halliburton at 8,500 here. He's going to be a nice GPP away from Jayson Tatum and some other guys. You can absolutely target Portland at the point guard position. It's going to be a fast game. It's a perfect spot for Tyrese. The only other guy I'm really interested in here for the Pacers is Andrew Nembhard, 5,800. He has lower upside than some of the other guys who may make nice GPP punt plays. I just like Andrew Nembhard because he's got a nice solid floor around that 30 DK point mark with some upside. Turner was ruled out today. He's no longer questionable. He was ruled out on Monday. If he can't go on the back-to-back, then it's all aboard on Thomas Bryant at 3,200. For the Portland Trailblazers, as I try and catch my breath, they also are playing today on the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. Robert Williams questionable Monday, and that's about it for them on the news front. DeAndre Ayton, yeah, not my favourite basketballer, but 6,500 is just still too cheap. He's getting high minutes, even in blowouts, which have happened in the last few games. He's beaten this price easily in 4 out of his last 5 games. Too cheap for Ayton. The other guy I like for Portland is Denny Avdia at 6,900. He's the guy who's had his minutes lowered in the blowout. So just watch that. If you think Portland can keep it close, and they are playing better lately, Denny Avdia at 6,900 should get past that price fairly easily in a close game. My favourite plays for Tuesday, February the 4th, Dan Gafford and PJ Washington taking on Philly with no Davis. Tatum versus Cleveland as a high price guy. Porzingis versus Cleveland at around that 7K mark is nice pricing. We're going to get Precious Achiuwa minutes versus Toronto here. Did I skip New York? I might have skipped New York totally. I did. Let's go quickly back. Let's just jump back here. Sorry about that, guys. It's because I started with Toronto in that game. Okay, so New York, back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. They're playing today. OG is already ruled out, and Hart is in, I believe, now. Cat at 9,400. He had a shocking field goal attempt game last last game out, only 3 from 12. He had 55 and 57 versus Toronto, so a nice bounce back spot for Cat. Precious Achua, as mentioned, he is getting the start for OG Anunoby. 5,700. This is a large price jump, but 29 minutes and 41 DK points is pretty hard to ignore. And Josh Hart, 7,700, is your GPP play, away from, say, guys like Porzingis at around the same price. 35 to 60 DK point range. It's a large range. We know there's no OG Anunoby. Anything could happen here versus Toronto. And Miles McBride, look, I think he got the start last game, but was limited in minutes because Precious went wild. Precious is starting again today. 3,700 is only a pinata play for Mr. McBride here. Let's jump forward back to my favourite plays. One screen too far. We got to Achua. He is the reason I realised we missed New York. Achua versus Toronto. Nice cheap price for him. I love the Tyler Hero play versus Chicago. Zubac taking on Jackson Hayes. Regardless of the Lakers, it's Jackson Hayes. And Rui versus the Clippers. Halliburton versus Portland is another nice GPP switch away from guys like Tatum and LeBron James. That is it for me today, guys. It is a tough slate to get through. It took me a little longer than usual, so please bear with me when we have so much news going on like we did today. This has been Snack Size DFS. I'm Brenton Exley. You can find me on the socials at Terrain72. This is part of the Old Man Squad Network. As always, thank you, Dan, and back to you.
And thank you, Brenton Eckersley, as always. Mr. Terrain72 on social media. Follow him immediately. Thanks for sending it back my way. I'm Dan Vespris. You guys know me as the founder of Old Man Squad at Fantasy Basketball. Just again, a reminder on the way out to hit that subscribe button. If you made it this far, you have to. That's the rule of YouTube, I think. Or however you're taking in the content, I suppose. Hit the like button. Make sure to follow us on our trade deadline live show. And check out our buddies over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click on the link in the show description. You can play a little pick'em game over at UnderdogFantasy.com using the information that Brenton brought you for this Tuesday card. That's what I'm going to do when we get around to my full 25, 30, whatever minute full season show. We'll build a card together there, and if you guys want to follow along, that's fine. You're probably better off, frankly, just hitting up Brenton for his favorite hires and lowers on the Underdog card. All you got to do is pick 2. If you want to go higher than that, that's fine. You can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. It increases your odds of what you could potentially win. I think the safest play is to just find your 2 favorites on the card. Go higher, go lower. You just look at the Underdog projections on all the key guys playing on any given night. You don't have to mix and match a bunch of different guys. It's individual. So, like, if you like so-and-so, Steph Curry, if you like Kawhi Leonard, if you like LeBron James, if it's the opposite, if you feel that that someone else is going to perform better, great. You pick a higher, you pick a lower, bingo bango, you're done. You got your pick'em card over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Again, sign up today using promo code OLDMAN or click on the link, the referral link in the show description, and unlock a free play. So one of those 2 that we talked about in your card is a gimme. That's a free square. And up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash. That's the promo that's running at Underdog Fantasy right now, so go check them out post haste. And let's wrap this sucker up. It's supposed to be snack size. Make sure to join us at all future shows here, DFS or otherwise, at Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespris for Brenton Eckersley. I bid you adieu. We'll see you soon. We ain't going anywhere for long.